Hey, it's me, your boy Blue again, and today I'll be talking about Roast Dragons as well as Red Dragon Archfiends. And I'm going to start off with Roast Dragon since, it's my favorite of all the Signer decks. Let's get started. For the pros, this deck has good boss monsters. This deck has great main deck monsters. This deck has good spells and traps. This deck is consistent. This deck has good recovery options, has good removal. Black Rose goes Burr, obviously meme. And for the con, or at least the only con I could think of, is that can't play through more than one or two negates. And I've spoken about this deck before on my Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypal Analysis, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tear Analysis video before, and if you guys remembered, I gave this deck, I think I rated it tier 4 because this deck was really frail and didn't really do too much. But now now with the new support they got, they actually fixed most of their problems and they play fairly well. So I'd give this deck a tier 2.5 now. And for their stats, I'd give this a 3 out of 5 in power, a 2.5 out of 5 in defense because they don't really have that many defensive options besides their field spell, and I guess Blue Rose Dragon, but that card isn't really all that good. And for recovery, I'd give this deck a 3.5 out of 5 in recovery because they have way more recovery options, and due to what you can recover, that being your Rock Rose, you get to recover that Rock Rose. Rock Rose allows you to add a card from your deck to your hand. I guess a card that specifically lists Black Rose Dragon in its text. So you basically get to plus, basically allowing you to recover a lot of your resources you lost just going into your Black Rose. For their stats, I'd give this deck, as far as power goes, a 3 out of 5. For defense, a 2.5 out of 5 since there aren't that many defensive cards in the archetype besides your field spell. For recovery, I'd give this deck a 3.5 out of 5, which is way better than they used to. I didn't really have the grading system when I did a video on this, but their recovery was very bad. And one of the reasons why I mentioned this as one of the cons before because this deck tends to put in a lot of resources just so you can go into your Black Rose, and your opponent can easily negate it and throw all your efforts down the drain. At least now with Rock Rose Dragon as well as the new quick play Monster Reborn, the recovery in this deck has actually skyrocketed since Rock Rose actually allows you to search something, and your new quick play Monster Reborn, which is also searchable by Rock Rose, by the way, can actually summon back most of your monsters, so it's pretty good. And for versatility, I'd give this deck a 3 out of 5 because Moon Rose as well as a few other things that I forgot about. Oh yeah, some plant synchros. Generic plant synchros are pretty good. And for consistency, I'd give this deck a 3 out of 5 since they do have search power now. They've always had search power, but they have better search power. So next and lastly would be doing Red Dragon Archfiend. And they are also a 5Ds archetype that has recently received support. For the pros, Master Rule 5. Pretty self-explanatory. They have great boss monsters, they have good main deck monsters. They are consistent, they are fairly versatile, and they have decent searchers. The cons. This deck is a bit of a glass cannon, since they do put a lot of resources into summoning their big boss monsters, and if those get outed, they can get OTK'd, and they don't really have that much recovery ability. and this deck can't really play through more than one negate, and that's basically an issue that most tier 2.5 or lower decks can't help. So I'd give this deck a 2.5 out of a 2.5. Speaking. That's why I'd say that this deck is a tier 2.5. Now for the stats, I'd give this deck a 4 out of 5. Most of their monsters are pretty huge, and they're really powerful, and they have ridiculously powerful effects and can OTK, but very rarely. You have a 2 out of 5 in defense, a 2.5 out of 5 in recovery. For versatility, I give them a 3 out of 5, and for consistency, a 3.5 out of 5. Anyways, it's been me, your boy Blue Gantiga, and I'm out.